Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling a huge question, one that's on pretty much everyone's mind. What are we all going to do when AI and robots can do all the jobs? Now, you've probably heard a lot of experts talking about this, but the thinker we're focusing on today says, most of the answers out there are kind of boring. They don't really get to the heart of it. So let's jump into a perspective that's pretty different. All right, here's how we're going to break it down. We've got 5 main points that build on each other, starting with a really core idea and ending with a whole new vision for what we're supposed to be doing. Okay, so first things first. The argument kicks off by totally acknowledging that fear we all have. The anxiety that we're about to become obsolete. But it says, hold on, before we can find the answer, we have to grasp a much deeper principle. And this is where it gets really interesting. Because to answer that question about jobs, we first have to talk about a pretty wild idea. A core philosophy about how reality itself actually works. The foundational premise is this: words spoken by humans eventually become reality. Now think about that. The idea here is that our speech isn't just noise. It's not just communication. It's an actual creative force. The argument is that almost nothing big ever happens in the world until a person says it out loud first. And how does this work? Well, the source gets a little cosmic here, describing our words as a kind of quantum energy. It's this idea that when we talk, we're not just vibrating air molecules. We're actually putting an energy out into the universe that can operate outside of time and space, literally planting a seed for something that will happen later. And there are examples to back this up. Just think about landing on the moon. For decades, centuries even, before we had any of the technology, people were talking about it. It was in books, in stories, in conversations. The argument is that this wasn't just idle chatter. That spoken idea was the absolute necessary first step. Without the words, the rocket would never have been built. Okay, so remember that idea, words create reality. Now let's connect it back to AI. This is where the whole argument pivots. The source claims AI isn't ending work. No, it's liberating us from labor. And that little difference in words, it's a huge deal. So instead of seeing this as something scary, a loss, we should see it as the next step in our evolution. It gives us the time and freedom for things that actually matter more. Think of it this way. We're not getting fired, we're getting promoted. And this isn't a new concept, really. The speaker makes a great comparison to old tech. Think about the washing machine. It didn't destroy family life. It got rid of hours and hours of brutal manual labor. It freed people up to do other things, get an education, build a career. AI is basically just the next, way more powerful version of that. And here's that core distinction, laid out plain and simple. We're shifting away from labor, which is all that repetitive physical stuff that, let's be honest, a machine can do. And we're moving towards an era of activity. This is the good stuff, the cultural, the educational, the things that really make us human. All right, so if we're not doing labor, what on earth are we going to be doing? What are these activities that are supposed to be our new purpose? Well, here's the vision. Our new jobs are activities will be things like creating culture, art, music, stories. It'll be about education, not just learning, but teaching and mentoring. It'll be about leading our communities and helping people who need support. You can see the pattern here, right? It's all higher level stuff. But wait a minute. This is the big question, isn't it? If AI gets smart enough, couldn't it do all that stuff too? Couldn't it write a symphony or even be a leader? Well, the speaker has a really specific answer for why that won't happen and why we'll always be needed. And this really brings us to the core of the whole thing, the one area that AI can supposedly never, ever touch. So here's the split. AI gets the entire world of knowledge, information, data, calculation. It can have all of that. But the one thing it can never have are humanity. Things like virtue, character, moral guidance. And AI can read every philosophy book ever written, but it can't be virtuous. It can't have character. That's our domain. And teaching is the perfect example here. The prediction is pretty bold. Maybe 70% of teachers, whose job is just to download facts into students' heads, they could be replaced. But the teachers who build character, who teach kids how to be good human beings, their value is going to go through the roof. They'll be priceless. So, when you put it all together, our future purpose, our activity, is this 2-part mission. Part one is an inside job. We use all this new free time to work on ourselves, to develop our own humanity, our own character. And part two, we take that wisdom and use it to lead, to guide each other, and just as importantly, to guide the very technology we've created. So we're left with this really powerful final question to think about. It completely reframes the whole AI is taking our jobs debate. Maybe the future of work isn't about what we do at all, but about who we become. Maybe the biggest challenge ahead isn't about the economy, it's about our own evolution. And the most important job we'll ever have is the work we do on ourselves.